Look, Yasi has come and gone, but now there is the enormous task of rebuilding all of these communities. Ed Blakely was in charge of the reconstruction of New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, and now he's Professor of Urban Policy at Sydney University. He joins us this morning from New York. Ed, thanks for your time this morning. First up, although Yasi was more powerful than Katrina, thankfully it didn't hit major urban areas. That's something to be grateful for, isn't it?
Much grateful for, but we were better prepared in Australia than in the United States, no matter where it hit.
Okay, why? How are we better prepared?
Well, we had Hurricane Larry, which changed building standards. We also had better buildings built all along the coast, particularly those buildings for tourists. So we were much better prepared than New Orleans was for a disaster of this scale.
And obviously that being better prepared saved lives and minimised the damage, which is terrific. But what can we learn from the rebuilding of New Orleans as this state government here in Queensland faced with the issue of rebuilding after the floods, now a major cyclone? What are some of the big lessons to learn?
Well, the biggest lesson is to look at this as not an isolated event, but a series of events that will hit us in Australia, and plan for the future events and not just put things back together the way they were in the past. It's very important that we look at where this hurricane hit, what areas are safe to build in, what areas are not safe to build in, and begin the rebuilding process with the knowledge of where it's safe to do it.
Okay, give us some examples, Ed. Are you saying that maybe, while building codes have improved, that maybe councils have zoned some areas for building and residential in areas that they shouldn't have?
That's exactly what I'm saying. And I think that we have to look at this with a changing weather pattern. No matter how it's induced, weather patterns are changing, rivers are rising, sea levels rising, and so we should rebuild with a future where there's more danger, and we should adapt to that dangerous situation now.
So you're saying avoid sort of the flood-affected areas that seem to be so populated now, and maybe go back to the old style of Queenslander, which is on the stilts?
Absolutely. We're going to have to build up in public buildings, including retail shops and so forth. We're going to have to make sure those areas are safe enough in case we need them for evacuation, that we can utilize them, and that they're up off the ground anywhere from a meter or 2 meters, and the lower areas are for parking or something else.
Okay. What about lessons learnt from New Orleans in terms of priorities for the reconstruction? Now, we have, Major General Mick Slater, who is, sensational bloke, great experience with Cyclone Larry, probably couldn't get anyone better to oversee the reconstruction. But are there any tips from New Orleans that he could put into place?
Well, I think you have one of the best people in the world doing this. And I certainly wouldn't try to give him many tips, but just for the general audience, to help him, the first thing he has to do is restore power and water. That's essential. The next thing he has to do is figure out the areas that can be rebuilt. There are going to be aftershocks. There are going to be more rains, more wind. And where are the nodes that he can begin this building process? Some people are going to be left out in the first wave, and we have to let them know that that's not because we don't like you or love you, but we have to begin the building process in the safest areas.
Yeah, that is an important message, and I think starting to get out already. Ed, thanks very much for joining us. Appreciate it.